And to conclude our episode this week, in the My Android Journey segment, we have David Moore.
Hello, everybody. I am going to do my Android journey. All right. My name is David Moore. I started using a feature phone by Virgin Mobile, and it was fairly accessible. I could type numbers. It would read everything I typed on the dial pad. I could type text. It would read the text back to me. I could give it commands like call John or give me the status of the phone, and it would tell me the battery percentage and all that. I used that Virgin Mobile feature phone from 2002 to 2010. And then I used a feature phone from Verizon between 2010 and 2013. And I used a lot of what was on there. I used the calculator, timer. It was pretty accessible. And this was a phone that we just went to Walmart and bought. And the same with the Virgin Mobile phone. Both of these phones, I mean, we had no idea how accessible they would be until Tracy and I brought them home, and we would just start playing with it. And then the first time I touched a smartphone was in 2013, and I went to a seminar at the Office for Disability Services that's right on the Ohio State campus. They help students a lot. And a blind person passed around his iPhone, and I touched the screen, and I just heard all this gibberish like I'm like, what's this phone saying? Is this speaking a different language or what? And they're like, well, let me turn that down. So the guy named Peter was his name, Peter, and he turned it down so I could almost hear the speech. And I had never learned any techniques to using a touch screen. So I'm just running my finger all around the screen, and I'm like, how in the world do you use this thing? Do you get on an app and use it? How do you answer a call with it? He's just like, oh, I just do it. And the rest of us there at the seminar, we felt the same way. We were just like, this Peter who had the iPhone must be Superman. And then a year later, a friend of mine had an iPhone, and I tried, and he showed me a few gestures, all he knew, and I learned the double tap, the swipe, the rotor. I couldn't even get the rotor to work half the time. And I'm like, I'll never use a smartphone again after that. I just said, I'll never use one. I'm happy with my feature phone. I'll never be able to use that touch screen. And then I tried out a couple other people's iPhones. Same thing. I couldn't get my finger to hardly do a swipe or a double tap. But then everything changed in November of 2018. That's when my Android journey began. A friend of mine, his name's Jason. He's really cool. He has some MRDD problems, and we just get along so well because he relates to me because he has a disability too. So he's really patient with me, and he turned TalkBack on one of his. It was a blue Android blue phone, 1 gig of storage, 16 gig of storage, 1 gig of RAM. He gave it to me and he's like, oh, just mess with it. So I did a Google search, blind person, how to use Android phone. And I found the Android website, Inclusive Android. I had never been on there until 2018. 2018, I would say December, I started reading and listening how to use an Android phone. And I spent hours, probably 3-4 hours a day, practicing the swipe, the double tap, the angle gestures. And it was really, really hard. And you got to realize I was using a phone that had what was it, Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean. Here in 2018, my buddy Jason gave me this phone that had Jelly Bean on it, and it made all kinds of dings. It had a lot of different sounds. But here I was. I got myself, after 2 months between November of 2018 and January of 2019, hours a day of practice on this Android Jelly Bean, 1 gig of RAM, 16 gig of storage, old slow phone. I was able to navigate between all the apps in the app drawer. I was able to double tap to open an app. I actually set up Gmail, read emails with it, and it took a long time because it was just so sluggish. TalkBack was so sluggish on there, it was unbelievable. And then in 2019, he gave me another phone, which is the infamous ZTE phone. And it had 2 gigs of RAM, a little bit better, 16 gig of storage. And it was a little better. It actually had Android 7. So it had a Nougat. So that's what I used in 2019, this Android Nougat, and it was a blue phone as well. Or no, it was the ZTE. That's right. Yes. So my second Android phone was this ZTE that I've talked about so much, and it works so much better. It was unbelievable. I actually used it to set the phone up myself. Put 2 fingers on the screen, held them down. It started talking. I set up the phone, my Google account. I was using it quite a bit. And that's what I started getting involved on the with you guys on. I can't remember if the Ice Free list still existed then, but then when it switched to Anna Tad, and then Antad, and I got on your Telegram group, and I did all that with that ZTE, and that's what I used until last November of 2020, I finally got the Google Pixel 4a, my third Android phone. And I started using it a lot more than my computer. And from using these cheap phones, though, I got to tell you guys, from using that blue BLU phone and the ZTE, that old ZTE, I was so good on a Google Pixel because I had to learn how to do everything with these cheap, sluggish phones. So when I got the Google Pixel, it's like all the different gestures are nothing. I do them in my sleep on that phone because here I am with 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gig of storage instead of 16. Just think all the way up until last year, just a few months ago. So from 2018 to November of 2020, just a few months ago, I used a $100 blue phone and I used that old ZTE with 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of storage. 16. And I used a lot of apps. I really milked it for everything it had. And then all of a sudden, now here in the past, just since November, and here it is April, I've used the Google Pixel 4a, and then also I have a fourth Android phone now, and it's a LG Journey, and I use it as an actual phone, and that's what's important to point out to you. The first 3 Android phones, I used them as tablets. I just used them with our Wi-Fi. But this LG Journey phone, it came from Family Mobile at Walmart. We used this really cheap plan called Family Mobile. And the LG Journey only costs $30. It's an $80 phone. And it has 2 gigs of RAM like the ZTE did. And it only has 16 gig of storage. So this is my phone. I tried to use my Google Pixel 4a as my phone, but it doesn't work well with the Family Mobile at Walmart. It just doesn't work well at all. I'll have to wait till we get a different phone plan. But that's my Android journey. Here I am right now. I'm on my Google Pixel 4a. I'm using Amazing MP3 recorder. Now I do try to use an iPhone that a friend of mine has, and I can use it a lot better now that I've done all this training, all self-training on Android. I never did get official professional training, but I go through all the tutorials online, anything I could find, I eat it up. And I can use an iPhone pretty well, but the rotor I still don't like. I like the 3-finger gesture that we have now to switch granularity. I even like it better than the rotor. But take care, guys. I've enjoyed getting to know you, Warren, Austin, and all you guys. And have a great.
Thanks very much, David. Another really interesting Android story. They're so rich and varied. I really enjoy that segment.
It is one of my favorite segments, and because it not only tells you about the struggles that the person had with the device or something like that, but then also it places a voice to who you're corresponding with, most especially on our mailing list. And then I love these Android Journey stories. It's my favorite segment of the podcast.